What's up, everyone? It's your girl, Sam Diann, and this is Figuring Out Epilepsy, where we talk about all things epilepsy plus more. For this episode, we're gonna get a little serious, a little more depressed sounding, as you can tell. I apologize in advance if I start crying and it sounds horrible. Today was a rough day for me. Something that someone said reminded me of how epilepsy makes me feel. And I don't know how to get it out of my head. My friend suggested I make an episode out of it. Shout out to him. I didn't want to, because I have become really good at hiding my feelings. I'm really good at smiling through the pain, smiling through what's really going on in my life. I'm not going to go into detail as far as what this person said to me, but it brought up all these feelings of not being enough. It brought up feelings of how epilepsy made me feel. And even though I have learned to accept my epilepsy and I have a whole social media, now podcast on life with epilepsy, I still have my moments of when epilepsy makes me feel a certain way. Since high school, I had these feelings that I wasn't enough, because every time I told someone that I have epilepsy, they started treating me differently. They started treating me like I was going to break at any moment. They started treating me like I should be in a bubble. If someone tells you that they have a chronic illness like epilepsy, and you don't have epilepsy, you don't even know anyone who does, treat that person the same before you even knew that information. Because when you start treating someone differently because of a certain aspect in their life, that becomes 10 times worse. Then from then on, that person with the chronic illness is going to think that every person after you that they tell they have that chronic illness is going to treat them the same that you treated them. Yeah, we have epilepsy, but that doesn't change who we are. It just changes our circumstances. It just changes how we have to do things, how we have to live our life. Ever since high school, and I got treated a certain way, I felt like I was broken, like I was defective. And all I wanted to be was like everyone else around me. Just have my life without epilepsy. Just be like everyone else. I absolutely hated having epilepsy. I got to the point where I couldn't even talk about it. I couldn't talk about epilepsy because every time someone brought it up, it made me go back to those feelings of being different, of feeling like I'm not enough, feeling like I'm broken. Who wants to feel like that? It's horrible. It got to the point where I faked it until I made it. I would start twitching. If you follow me on Instagram, you would know that I get twitches. My eyes start twitching. My neurologist called them muscle spasms. I've learned that they're called absence seizures. But my eyes twitch right before a tonic-clonic seizure. When they twitch continuously, then I know I'm going to have a tonic-clonic seizure. So when the twitching would happen, I would walk away from whoever pointed it out. I would act like they're absolutely nuts and they're just seeing things. I would pretend that I'm completely fine. And that is the reason why I have fallen so many times. Because I didn't allow people to help me out. Because feeling like I'm not enough, feeling like I'm broken was the worst feeling. And I didn't want to go back to that. So every time a tonic-clonic seizure would come up, I ignored it. Worst thing ever. Don't do that. And I'm not blaming anyone for how I feel. Don't misunderstand me. That's not my point as far as this episode goes. I don't blame anyone for how I feel. These feelings come with having epilepsy. Feeling like a burden is another one. It's part of the package. You get certain feelings, and they're not always the best feelings ever when you're living with a chronic illness. Sometimes getting out of bed isn't a physical thing. It's a mental thing. Sometimes getting out of bed is hard because you have all these dark feelings inside of you and you don't know how to express it. And even when you do, you feel like people don't understand you. You feel completely alone when you live with something like epilepsy. I have felt alone most of my life, and I hate it. I'm a very social person. I like being around people. But I could be surrounded by people and still feel like I'm all alone, like I'm just by myself. Epilepsy isn't just the seizures, isn't just losing control over your body. It's dealing with a lot of mental health issues as well. As far as depression, oh my goodness, depression is a huge one. So is anxiety. You also deal with suicidal thoughts of self-harm. At least I did. I have dealt with all those things. Because you can't live a normal life like everyone else. No matter how much I tried to fake it, it always came back and bit me in the ass. No matter what, I can fake it with the best of them. I call the epilepsy community masters of disguise because we are really good at trying to convince people that we are okay, that we are fine, that we're not sick. We are the masters of faking it until you make it. I did it for 20 years. 20 long years of trying to live my life like I didn't have epilepsy. Completely ignoring everything and my health just so I can feel like a normal person, just so I can feel like I am enough. I faked it for 20 years. You know how exhausting that is? I honestly don't know if I could have gone any longer than that. Thank goodness my brother said what he said. Because having to do another 20 years of faking being okay when I'm like hurting inside, when I'm just need to accept the fact that I have epilepsy. You know how much more free you feel when you accept your epilepsy? You feel like a burden has been lifted off of you. You feel like 20 years of feeling this negative feeling has disappeared. Don't get me wrong. Those feelings, for me, they sometimes come back. Sometimes someone might say something and those negative feelings come back. But for the most part, you feel free. You feel like you can conquer epilepsy. And I hope every single person, and I mean every single person, all 65 million of you around the world, get to experience that feeling. I hope that one day everyone learns to accept their epilepsy. Because I'm telling you, it is the best feeling in the world. Yeah, not all days are perfect. Like I've said, those negative feelings do come up. For example, today, those negative feelings came up for me. I started feeling like I wasn't enough. And it brought me back to how I felt when I didn't accept my epilepsy. It brought me back to high school, to my 20s, and hiding it from the world. It is a learning process. It is a journey for sure. And just because you accept your epilepsy doesn't mean you're not going to have bad days. I have bad days all the time. Instagram only shows the smallest portion of my life. It doesn't show everything. I know how my page, my social medias can look like I have my life together. It's been told to me before. Trust me, I don't have my life together. I struggle just like everyone else. I try to survive just like everyone else. I live my life by the moment, because living your life by the day is too hard. I need to live my life with every moment, because you never know what the next day will be. And I've learned that living by the moment has helped me enjoy life more. Because when I was living it day by day, it became too much. And it just became survival mode all the time. I don't know if anyone else does that. I don't know if that would help anyone, but it has helped me. Gratitude journaling has also helped me. It helps me focus on all the positive things in my life. Because when you have epilepsy, your mind can play a lot of dirty tricks on you, and you can become so dark so fast. I have definitely experienced that. What else helped me was getting more involved in my community, reading books on epilepsy. It made me feel like I'm not alone. It made me feel like there was people out there that actually understood what I was going through, and that I wasn't living in this illness by myself. So I highly suggest getting involved in your community, reading epilepsy books. I can list some down below. Join a support group, because just because you accept your epilepsy, it doesn't mean life is going to get easier. Epilepsy just complicates our life. What I also like to do is I also like to journal. Not gratitude journal, just journal. Just write down my feelings. I've been doing it since I was 10 or 11, one of those. And every time I start feeling all depressed, and I start feeling all these negative feelings, and I start feeling sad, like I just want to cry, but I can't, because I've mastered holding in my feelings and letting them out when no one is around. I journal. I journal so I can get those feelings out. Don't hold anything in, because that is just going to make things worse. It's just going to eat up at you. See a therapist. Therapy is wonderful. I've done it. It helps so much. But most importantly, don't give up when those negative feelings start creeping back up. Don't give up, because life with epilepsy is possible. It's different. It is absolutely different. But it is possible. So I encourage everyone to keep fighting, to keep living your best life with epilepsy. Do not give up. Life is beautiful, even with epilepsy. So I'm going to end this episode with this saying that I always say about epilepsy. Epilepsy is not the end, but rather the beginning of something different.